Hello, everyone. Welcome to another scene for Living World of Darkness, Big Apple Rage Down. In this scene, we have Saoirse, who's, well, she's in a little bit of a state of. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. She's just in a state. And um, she wakes up kind of early and she unwrenches herself from in between Aiden and 10 Point, and she goes to Alexis's apartment condo. And just gonna say it's early enough that she's still asleep, and she's gonna crawl into bed with her.
Welcome addition, no doubt, as Alexis sort of obviously moves in once she's been nestled into, and well, yeah, she'll probably turn back down for sleep for a bit, and when it gets past a time that she finds reasonable, probably like 10 in the morning, that's when she looks over.
Saoirse's eyes are a bit puffy. They're no longer red, but you can tell that she was crying for quite a while. Uh, Morning.
Morning.
You know how wolves live in packs?
She'll nod as she sits up.
Well, so do we. We have packs, and the two people that I've lost recently were my pack mates. And my one remaining pack member, I decided that it was best for me to no longer be in a pack with her. And I'm planning on joining another, but it's still hard. It still hurts. I care about her a lot. It's so right now I'm a lone wolf, so to speak, as far as that goes. I mean, I have you. I always will, but it's your pack is family. It's stability. It's the bonds that you share with your pack mates is unique and unlike any other.
So it's kind of like becoming estranged from your sibling then.
Hi, and she really is like my sibling. We grew up together in Ireland. Her, my mom raised her, so we'll probably, after the hurt wears off and whatever, we'll probably still be friends. But it's
Alexis just reaches out with a hand and takes a hold of Saoirse's and gives it a squeeze. Gives her like a reassuring smile.
And there's something else that goes with it. When you're in packs with us, you share this spiritual connection. It allows us to communicate silently, so we're always in each other's heads. And now there's no one in my head. When you get used to having people that close, where you can just reach out at any time, and then you don't have it, she'll start crying again.
And Alexis, she doesn't really have a lot to say to that point because she doesn't really know how to relate to it. At least not in a way that could come off as pandering, because she just doesn't know. So
Of
she does
course.
she does the only thing that she feels is appropriate. She just kind of takes the back of Saoirse's head and pulls her in close to sort of rest her head against her own shoulder.
Yeah, Saoirse will just kind of cling on to her and give her a squeeze. Um, but there's besides all that, there's another sort of major thing that I need to talk to you about. Um, we've been given an order from our leaders that all of us have to move out of the park. That many of us living in one place, it could end up attracting too much attention and the wrong kind. So, and especially can risk our existence to humans, which I know that I can stay with you, obviously. Um, However, there are those of us that don't have, are not able to work because of, their. Some of them have very strong presence that is off-putting to normal humans and can prevent them from getting jobs and things like that. Some of us are born as wolves and don't have legal identities. And there's only so much that so there are organizations that are owned by us that could help, but they themselves would need help with finances. I was wondering if there was any way that and it looks like this is very, very, very hard for her to ask.
Alexis, kind of seeing that, will just kind of put a finger to Saoirse's lips, and she'll slide out of bed and grab a hold of her robe and put it on. Then she'll walk over and take Saoirse's hand, and will lead her out of the bedroom to the to the living room, and Alexis goes and starts like a pot of coffee,
Mm.
and probably heats up some kind of pastry, probably like croissants that she has like delivered every morning.
Right?
So yeah, so she makes a nice little tray, and brings over the little coffee pot and glasses or mugs and little cream thing and all that. She brings all the fixings over, and then she sits down and makes Saoirse a cup of coffee to her tasting and makes her one. And then she'll nestle up close to Saoirse so she can kind of begin again now with like just something to help cut the tension a little bit, some kind of mild distraction, whether it's just the coffee in her hand or just the smell of
Mm.
food, whatever it might be.
Saoirse inhales the smell of the coffee. I normally drink tea, but this actually smells really, really good.
Well, fair trade, organic, all natural.
She smiles and takes a deep breath. Um, I know that you're good at doing things like that. We're going to need help, and I wondered if you might some way. We can't rely on those that we call our kin. We can't expect them to support us.
So I take it that there's a question in that you have for me then.
She, out of character, she kind of already asked it.
Oh wow, then my audio cut out. What did she say?
Oh, she's asked if Alexis would be able to help them in some way.
Okay. Um. Wow, that was a huge hiccup there. Okay. Alexis, she sits back and she considers it for a minute. Um. In what way do you need help?
Either I have to figure out exactly which uh, which organizations they are. I know that there's one that is a hotel, and that could help. They just we're gonna need donations.
Uh, she sits back and she kind of puts her her index finger sort of in between her teeth and nibbles on it a bit as she seems to be thinking. Let's say that you were.
Because, like I said, there are those of us that can't.
Let's say that you were trying to pitch this in a public forum. How would you pitch it? To the masses, not.
Right. She thinks about that for a moment. It would probably be something like helping because it's not just for us, it's for our kin too, which is there's a lot of them that need jobs, things like that. So helping impoverished get on their feet.
I could probably get a fundraiser started.
What? Cut out.
I could try and get a fundraiser started. A gala event, just like last time. But there'd have to be some kind of charitable organization.
Right, that's why I need to find out exactly which organizations we're affiliated with, which ones we own, things like that. So if we can do it legitimately, that would be best.
Well, if it's a fundraiser, it's going to have to be done legitimately. Otherwise, it brings.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But I'll see what I can get done. If nothing else, I have a pretty sound financial mind, so I might be at least be able to see what your current budget is for your people and work out ideas and options.
She'll nod. I told some of them that I was going to be asking you for help, so it won't come as a shock.
Alexis sits back with a smile and sips on her coffee.
But I'll get you more information as soon as I can.
Well, as soon as I have it.
It's been a rough few days.
It's been kind of a rough few months for you.
She'll nod at that. It has. But there's definitely been bright spots.
Alexis just kind of gets that look on her face, like she just has that coy expression, and she's just like, "Well, I would hope so."
Yeah, she grins. Her expression changes. I haven't told Aiden about us getting engaged yet. I'm waiting to see how long it takes for him to notice the ring.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that talk. I know it will come.
He'll be alright. It's his pack I'm gonna be joining. Oh, that might. Something dawns on her. She's like, actually, that's probably gonna make him a lot more protective of me than he was before.
What, you getting married?
Oh, yeah, I must have cut out for you. She said it was his pack she's gonna be joining, so he'll be alright. And then she's like, oh, wait a minute.
She considers that, and she just takes another sip of her coffee.
It'll be fine, I promise. Don't worry. Or try not to worry too much.
Because he wasn't intense before.
It'll be fine. Be fine.
So I've been wondering a bit, you know, how how's the rest of your family going to take to this?
Don't I don't really have much actual family. Um, our society works a bit differently. Um, I don't have a lot of contact with them either. So the only family you really have to worry about is going to be my pack. I'll tell my mom, but I don't think that she'll. Well, ugh. Mm. You know what? It's never mind. I'm sorry. It's just better I don't. She
Alexis will
can
kind
stay
of
in blissful ignorance in Ireland.
Alexis, like, she sits forward and her face actually gets a little bit solemn at that.
She's very traditional.
She wouldn't approve of two.
And she's a judge among our people.
So by traditional,
I don't know that she would approve of me marrying somebody that I can't breed with. At least not in the traditional way.
she'll set down her coffee and she'll actually reach out and take Saoirse's hands.
She'll take them.
It's not something we ever it's not something we've ever really touched on, but I mean, do you want kids?
I don't know, to be honest. The pressure to have children is shoved down our throats from the time that we're small.
Oh, but it's not too unlike my family. I mean, aside from my sisters and I, all my siblings have kids, wives and kids.
What about you?
She gives kind of a shrug. I've been more career focused than anything in my life, you know. But I was never closed off to the idea.
I figure I might eventually. I have a lot going on. And I don't think it's fair. I remember growing up, I didn't get to see my mother very much because she was busy with doing same things that I do, you know? So I don't think that it's fair to subject a child to that, to having a parent that's absent most of the time.
Wow. All right. If you'd like to roll a perception empathy, we're in Dice Roller 2.
I sure will. Okay, Dice Roller 2. E&E. Oh, my diff is 4. 3.
Nice. What you would certainly get is that that actually resonates with Alexis a lot more than probably Saoirse might have anticipated.
Oh.
As if it's sort of like as she knows what it's like to grow up without your parents being ever present. Yeah.
She looks to her. And then
I'm sorry, you cut out.
said she looks to her and said, the same thing happened to you then?
I learned how to speak French from my au pair.
I mean, I had my dad, but I could tell that the strain on him was great. Just since he was working. but he only worked while I was in school, so that he was always there when I was home. It was still hard on him, especially since, he had to take care of me and Alona, and his wife was never home. He didn't know day to day if she was going to come back. That's a lot of pressure, and I don't want to put that on you.
She'll just kind of take a hold of Circe's hands. You have to let me make a choice on that as well,
Yeah, she'll resign herself to that fact and smile. I I know. It's not something that we have to decide right away, of course, but I
No.
suppose if that's something you want to do, if you want to take the time to.
She'll move her hands up to Circe's face and she'll place a very gentle and tender kiss on her. And she'll pull back. When the time comes that we're ready for that. I'd like to start a family with you. And given how our sexuality is, was never going to be what traditional people envision as ideal. So I don't need the American dream nuclear family. I know you're capable of coming home to me each and every time.
She'll smile. And she'll nod. Okay.
And she just, she gives a very warm smile.
Well, maybe in the meantime we can get a dog or something.
Yeah, about that. I've been thinking on that, and the stuff that I do that it's not part of us together. I'm never going to be a fighter. I don't have the attitude that it takes. I don't have the will that it takes to fight. So I've been thinking maybe a trained dog at my side who would protect me would not be a bad idea.
She'll nod. If I could be by your side all the time, I'd be more than happy to protect you that way.
Yeah, but my colleagues may not be particularly comfortable with that in that
Probably not. You need
capacity.
you need something a little less threatening. She just kind of chuckles, like, "Oh, I'm aware."
A little less threatening, a little bit easier to fit into a car.
you know, you know what? She's. I could fit into a car.
I mean, and she'll kind of like
My
gesture
wolf.
around
My wolf.
widely, like this. Yes, you can. You're.
Oh, my normal wolf form's not that big.
I. Most wolves are bigger than most dogs.
Well, okay. And I'd be hard to pass off as a dog. I do not look like a dog at all. I am definitely a wolf.
I. Yes. No. Speaking of which, how's an animal going to react around you?
um. Well, I'm actually a little bit them than some others that will be fine. Um, once I get to know them and they get used to being around me, it'll be okay. It might be a little tough at first, but it'll be all right. You know how when you introduce each other, you have to go slow.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it's gonna have to be. Because even if I'm like this, most of the time it's going to sense my innate animal nature.
At least I won't have to clean its hair out of the shower every week.
She chuckles.
She just looks over with this very amused but very direct look.
She like
I'm,
flips her hair and uh,
I mean, look,
I got to maintain this long, beautiful hair.
I'm not saying that you don't. I find a fair amount of brown hair in the shower as well, but there's a lot of red.
I will start. I will be better about cleaning up after myself. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Those are the arguments I like having.
She's grinning.
I wanted to know if maybe either Friday or Saturday night you'd be interested in meeting my friend Rebecca in more of a
I
intimate setting than than the last time you saw her.
right. Oh, that's something else I need to tell you. So you remember the one that was being a bit obnoxious,
Hmm.
Shinlo?
Yeah.
He the the big the big thing that we had that I said I might not make it back from. He didn't make it back.
Alexis's expression doesn't grow like somber, but it's more of that concerned for how it affects your loved one more than you. She,
Right.
she didn't really know Shinlo, but she wants to be, sympathetic because Saoirse obviously did. And she sighs for a moment. You doing okay with it?
He was uh he was obnoxious and rude and didn't quite know his place. I'm sad that he died, and I'm sorry for those that were closer to him than me, but she shrugs. I'm alright.
I'm glad to.
But if Rebecca expected to hear back from him, she's not gonna.
I don't think she put too much stock in it.
Okay.
I don't think
Alright.
we've mentioned him since the event, so.
Well, alright, there you go. Well,
Speaking of Rebecca, and her face takes on a bit more of a serious expression. We had a talk. After I told her about our engagement,
what'd she say?
I mean, she was obviously. She had the response I expected about us moving as quickly as we have. I've just accepted that as
I
it is what it is.
we've been together almost 2 months now.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said,
She's
but
just
not enough time apparently for most people. She gives kind of like just that fake look of exasperation, very theatrical.
oh yeah. Saoirse rolls her eyes and is very dramatic about it too. Like whatever.
But she did bring up a point. That's one that she unfortunately has some expertise on, just not in the same context as we do. We can't lead double lives. If we're going to be together, we have to be honest with each other and open.
Of course.
And that could put us at risk for being in danger from each other's people or our own people, even.
As long as what we say to each other doesn't leave each other, don't go blabbing it to others.
That part I'm not worried about. The
No, it
part
should
that
be
did
fine.
have me worried was there may come a time when our what we are may come to cross purposes. May not even be over anything that we were involved in personally. It may only be a symptom of something that's well beyond our control.
I don't. I know that, and I'm prepared for that to happen. Although, like I said before, we fight on the same side. We fight against the same things you do.
I know that in most cases that's true, but I also know that sometimes And among our own people, we can go to war with each other.
So can we. There's some stories I can tell you, believe me. I'm a storyteller among our people, a lore keeper, so to speak.
I know. But she pointed out to me that I needed to know beforehand when the time came if we had to choose what side we stood on. If that horrible choice came, we have to know beforehand what choice we'd make. Just reaches out with her hands, and she takes Circe's, and she runs her thumb over the finger with a band on it. I've made my choice.
I choose you every time.
And she'll just lean forward and grab a hold of Saoirse and hug her very tightly.
Sure will hug her back. Hopefully, we never have to make that choice, but you're right.
She rests back for a minute, still remaining close, and she has this smile on her face. It became a lot easier when I realized that I didn't have to pick a side. I just had to pick the person that I cared most about.
For me, that choice gets a little harder because, like I told you before, the pack bond is very strong. But I'm going to choose you every time.
She smiles. I know. I will promise you, though, that I will do everything I can.
But what I want to happen is for you to get to know my pack so that they care about you just as much as I do. And so that when that terrible time comes, they choose you too.
She nods.
I'm not officially in their pack yet, but when I am, and we get all of our things sorted out, you're going to come to dinner. She'll smile.
Oh, I know. It's only a fair trade because you are going to have dinner with my parents.
course. Going to have to
Mhm.
meet your parents and probably the rest of your family and your friends and
And we're going to have to tell them that we're engaged. That that will be a perfectly reasonable reaction from them, I am sure.
unprepared. I know to most people it looks like we're just a couple of how to word this. People probably, especially since we have moved relatively quickly, people probably think that we're not really as invested as we seem. But I know exactly what I'm doing.
And so
When you
she felt love in a way that no one had ever felt love. Of that she was sure. I think anytime anyone moves this fast, people always assume that it's an infatuation or an impulse. And I suppose there's some truth to that, but not in the kind of way that would diminish or even change the way things would have gone. You
I
always
wouldn't
know
change the, I wouldn't
that
change the way things have happened for anything.
once we both realized what we had to lose,
When you live as dangerously as I do, you can't afford to wait.
she smiles.
There's as far as something about crossing interests. There's something that might come on your radar,
Like what?
like werewolves getting skinned.
Her expression kind of goes dumbfounded.
There are kin among us that want so desperately to be Geru that they've developed a way to be one. Or to be werewolves. She wouldn't have said Geru, sorry. Um, that want to be werewolves so badly that they've developed a way to be one, and that involves skinning us. To
Look
have
of
to have our pelts.
look of abject disgust on Alexis's face is pretty clear and present.
We're trying to figure out who's doing it, but in case it comes up, that's what's happening.
I've seen and heard some awful things, but I think that is wow. Well, if I hear anything about it, if it shows up, I'll just keep my ear down to the ground for it.
She nods. Appreciate that. She'll lean over and kiss Alexis.
Alexis certainly kisses back and probably intensifies the kiss a bit, sort of pushing Saoirse back onto the couch. And as she pulls away, she smirks.
So you're just gonna pull her back and be like, you're not getting away.
And that's about the reaction that Alexis expected. And as they get into that, I think this would be a perfect point.
Yes. I agree. So, thank you, players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time.